Lance Hornby for the Toronto Sun, here with Mike Wilson, and Mike has the Maple Leafs Hall of Fame room here in his basement, and I have to say, if you're a Maple Leaf fan, this is probably what the afterlife may look what you might want to expect in a Maple Leaf afterlife, because this room is absolutely unbelievable. It's got about 2,000 artifacts from dating back from the 1930s to present day. And the curator, or host, for lack of a better word, is Mike Wilson. And Mike, can you tell me how you got started and what kind of things are in here?
It started off like any young kid my era coming up in the 60s. Of course, the number one thing in the world was the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot else out there, so there was no competition outside of maybe the Argos. So I, as my dad has always said, I basically came out naming the Toronto Maple Leafs starting lineup. And it just went from there, just like any other kid, the passion of playing outdoor hockey, and then started playing hockey, and I just took to the game like it was your second life. And Wayne Gretzky, well, what's to be said? The greatest, I think the greatest athlete in sports that's ever existed, the way he carries himself on the ice, the way he carries himself off the ice.
And he's given you some of the stuff in here, too.
Well, I've met him a few times, and I've showed him the things, and he actually has endorsed the items that I've got. So he has seen them, and just, anybody who follows hockey, Wayne is a pretty simple story as why you would want to collect Wayne Gretzky items. And so I've got a pretty good, tribute to him. Toronto Maple Leafs started in 1927. Of course, the 100th anniversary is coming up because they're going back to 17, but, in a couple of years. But for the first team at Maple Leaf Gardens that everybody can identify with, this is the first team. This is a signed picture by the team. It came from within the team, and it's from Alexander Studios, so it's a very rare piece. And it's, it's one of my treasures. 1931-32 team to win a Stanley Cup.
And are these original from the Gardens?
And these seats here are original seats from the Gardens. Our goalie case. And it's a tribute to not only, it's a combination of great Leaf greats and also Team Canada greats, as you can see. So everybody's in here from, Johnny Bower, and we also have Turk Broad in here, Terry Sawchuk, Curtis Joseph's pads, Johnny Bower's pads are in here.
Some significance for you.
Well, 54-55-0 was born, 1954. You may want to keep that one quiet from if you can, so that was the team, and they used to have those in the Leaf dressing room, and they hung throughout the Gardens, and I guess, they were probably gone when you were hanging around down there. But a lot of this in here is a lot of collage of different items. These are Jimmy Thompson skates from the 50s. This is a Sittler, a picture or a sculpture of Sittler from the 10-point night that was done by Gary Alcorn, who sits in a boat in the Bahamas and does these sculptures. He's an ex-Toronto Maple Leaf.
Former Leaf, yes.
Former Leaf. And then here's a couple of further sticks, a Turk Broda stick from the 40s, and here's a stick, there's a Sawchuk stick here. We also, and I have an assortment of things in here, Frank Mahovich's Rookie Award. This is a program from the first night at Maple Leaf Gardens, that's the original program. That's Teeter Kennedy, actually, another sculpture of Gary's. Here is that is the film from the game that Bobby Braun scored the winning goal with the broken leg. Well, in here you've got, this is an original turnstile from the Gardens right back in the early 30s, and it was originally put in. I've got one of the boxes over there that you put the tickets in. I actually have two of these. So, and around here is an assortment of, those are all player individual trophies from Toronto Leafs, from Daryl Sittler to Max Bentley, to George Armstrong. I'm extremely proud of this. There's, today the sweaters the players wear, I've got sweaters going beyond this, but I just haven't displayed them. But the players are now wearing so many of them. There's lots of them out there. But as we go back in time, you see the sweaters are rarer and rarer. And the thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs is, going back to the days of Conn Smythe, the Leafs didn't give any sweaters out, and their equipment was passed down because he was frugal, so we'll put it a very nice way. And so what he would do is they would just change the number in the crest and pass it throughout the organization. So all of these sweaters here, Toronto Maple Leaf sweater in the marketplace are very tough to find. Now, the modern ones aren't, but when you start getting back into here in the early 70s and getting back in the 60s here, very difficult to find these sweaters. And going back right in here, we've got sweaters from Frank Finnegan. And you got sweaters from Frank Finnegan and Sweeney Schreiner and Max Bentley, Todd Sloan, Peter Kennedy's captain sweater, Carl Brewer, George Armstrong and Davey Keon from 1968. And Timmy Horton. This actually is a little bit infamous because it was owned by Alan Eagleson.
Well, we thank Mike very much for a wonderful tour of his Hall of Fame basement, certainly Nirvana for any Leaf fan. And is there any Maple Leaf you'd like to come down here one day?
Well, I want all Maple Leafs to come. And as I said to you before, any Toronto Maple Leaf, past, present, or future, I'd love to have come over. But I'm getting a promise from a couple of friends of mine. I'd like to have Gretzky down here at one time to come and see it, because for the obvious reasons. And maybe one Canadian in particular, maybe Mr. Stephen Harper, Prime Minister Harper, if he'd ever make a visit one day, love to have him come over and have a look at it. Being a hockey fan, and maybe we could talk about his book a little bit, which I actually have.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It's Lance Hornby from the Toronto Sun here at Mike Wilson's Maple Leaf Hall of Fame basement.